Have you ever seen someone you love suffer so much pain that they cry every single day? And no matter how much money you spend, nothing helps? That's what happened to a billionaire named Marcus. His mother, Elena, had terrible pain in her head. The pain was so bad she couldn't sleep. She couldn't smile. She couldn't even remember happy memories anymore. Marcus hired the best doctors in the country. He flew specialists in from around the world. He bought the most expensive medicine. He brought nurse after nurse to care for her. But nothing worked. Nothing. The pain just kept getting worse and worse. Then one rainy night, everything changed. A young woman with nothing but a kind heart and wet clothes walked into their lives. And what she discovered hidden deep in Elena's head? Nobody, not the doctors, not the specialists, not even Marcus, saw it coming. Before we begin, drop your city in the comments below. We love knowing where our Emotional Stories family is watching from. Are you watching from New York, Texas, California, or maybe somewhere far away? Let us know. Now let's dive into this incredible story of love, pain, promises, and miracles. Marcus wasn't always rich. In fact, he grew up so poor that some nights he went to bed hungry, really hungry, the kind of hungry that makes your stomach hurt and keeps you awake. He lived with his mother, Elena, in a tiny apartment with broken windows that let the cold wind in. The pipes leaked. The walls had cracks. The heater didn't work half the time. His father had left when Marcus was just 3 years old. Just walked out the door one day and never came back. So it was just him and his mom against the whole world. Every single morning, before the sun even came up, Elena would tiptoe into Marcus's small bedroom. She would lean down, kiss his forehead gently, and whisper in Spanish, "Mi hijo," my son. Then she would leave for work while it was still dark outside. What did Elena do for work? She cleaned rich people's houses. She washed their marble floors on her hands and knees until her skin was raw. She scrubbed their toilets with her bare hands. She carried heavy bags of trash that smelled terrible. She polished their expensive furniture and washed their fancy clothes. And when she came home at night, sometimes at 9, sometimes at 10, sometimes even later, her back hurt so badly that she could barely walk straight. Sometimes she cried in the bathroom with the door closed, thinking Marcus couldn't hear her. But Marcus always heard her. Every single sob, every painful groan, every whispered prayer asking God for strength. One cold winter night, when Marcus was only 8 years old, he woke up thirsty. He walked to the kitchen to get water. That's when he found his mother sitting on the kitchen floor, sobbing into her hands. Her fingers were red and raw from scrubbing floors with harsh chemicals all day. Her knees were bruised and swollen. There were tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mama, why are you crying?" little Marcus asked, his voice shaking with fear. He had never seen her cry like this before. Elena quickly wiped her tears away and tried to smile. But it was a sad smile, a tired smile, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm okay, baby, just a little tired. Go back to bed." But Marcus wasn't stupid. He was only 8, but he understood pain when he saw it. He knelt down next to her on that cold kitchen floor, took her rough, calloused hands in his small, soft ones, and made a promise he would never, ever forget. "Mama, one day I'm going to be rich. I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful house. You will never have to scrub floors again. You will never have to carry trash again. You will never cry again. I promise you, Mama, I promise." Elena pulled him into her arms and hugged him so tight. Tears kept falling from her eyes, but this time they were different tears. These were tears of love. "You are my treasure, Marcus," she whispered. "You are all I need. You are everything." But deep in his heart, Marcus meant every single word of that promise. From that day forward, he studied harder than any kid in his school. While other kids played video games, Marcus read books. While they watched TV, Marcus did homework. He worked part-time jobs, delivering newspapers at 5 in the morning, washing cars on weekends, stocking shelves at the grocery store at night, all while still going to school. He saved every single penny he earned, and he dreamed. Every night before he fell asleep, he dreamed of the day his mother would finally rest. The years went by. Marcus graduated high school with perfect grades. He got a scholarship to college. He worked 3 jobs to help pay for what the scholarship didn't cover. He barely slept. He ate cheap noodles and bread to save money, but he never gave up. And 20 years after that promise on the kitchen floor, Marcus kept it. He built a technology company from absolutely nothing. He worked 18-hour days, sometimes 20. He slept in his office on a couch. He failed hundreds of times, but he got back up every single time. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, he became successful, and then he became a billionaire. The very first thing Marcus did with his money was buy his mother a mansion. Not just a house, a mansion. It had 12 bedrooms with king-size beds and silk sheets, a giant kitchen with marble counters, and every appliance you could imagine. A beautiful garden filled with red roses and white fountains, and windows so big and so clean, you could see the sunrise from every single room. The day Marcus handed his mother the keys, he could barely speak. His voice broke with emotion. "Mama, this is yours," he said, tears running down his face. "You never have to clean another person's house ever again. You never have to hurt again. You can rest now. You earned this." Elena cried tears of joy that day. She hugged her son so tight, she thought her heart might explode with happiness. She kept saying, "Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you." For a while, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, life was perfect. Elena had everything she ever dreamed of. Comfortable beds, warm blankets, good food, no more pain. But then something terrible started happening. Elena began having headaches. At first they were small, just little pains here and there. Maybe a dull ache in the morning. She thought it was normal. Maybe she just needed more sleep. But slowly, week by week, month by month, the pain got worse and worse and worse. Soon Elena was crying every single day, not from happiness this time, but from pain. The pain was so bad she couldn't sleep at night. She would lie in her beautiful bed with tears streaming down her face, holding her head and moaning. She couldn't eat anymore because the headache made her feel sick. She started forgetting things, people's names, where she put her keys, what day it was. Sometimes she even forgot where she was. She would wake up confused, scared, asking, "Where am I? What's happening?" Marcus was absolutely terrified. He watched his mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything for him, slowly disappearing in front of his eyes. He took her to the best doctors in the entire country. They did brain scans, blood tests, MRIs, CT scans, X-rays. They gave her pills, dozens of different pills, injections, experimental treatments. They tried everything medical science had to offer, but nothing worked. The pain kept getting worse. Every single test came back normal. "We can't find anything wrong," the doctor said, shaking their heads with confusion and frustration. "We're very, very sorry, Mr. Marcus. We don't know what's causing this." Marcus felt completely helpless. Here he was, a billionaire with all the money in the world, and he couldn't save the one person he loved most, the one person who had saved him over and over again when he was a child. What good was money if it couldn't help his mother? So he decided to hire someone to take care of Elena at home full-time. Someone who could watch her every minute, help her, make sure she was comfortable, make sure she wasn't alone. First, he hired a woman named Patricia. She had 20 years of nursing experience, excellent references from rich families, a fancy nursing degree from a top university. Marcus paid her a huge salary, more than most people make in a year. But after just 2 weeks, Marcus fired her. Why? Because Patricia spent more time scrolling on her cell phone than talking to Elena. She was cold, distant, robotic. She gave Elena her medicine on time, yes. She made sure Elena ate, yes. But she treated Elena like a job, not a person. There was no warmth, no kindness, no soul. Next, he hired a woman named Susan. She had great credentials too. She lasted exactly 1 month before Marcus walked into Elena's room and caught Susan yelling, actually yelling at his mother for forgetting to take her medicine. "I already told you 3 times to take your pills," Susan shouted angrily. "What's wrong with you?" Marcus fired her on the spot. Then came Margaret, then Diane, then Rosalind, then Christine, then Victoria. Woman after woman, caregiver after caregiver, Some were lazy and spent most of the day watching TV. Some were rude and treated Elena like she was a burden. Some were just empty, hollow. They didn't care. They saw a confused old woman with memory problems, not a human being. Not a mother who had worked herself to the bone for 30 years to raise her son alone. Not a woman who deserved love and respect. Marcus was losing hope. He felt like he was failing his mother all over again, just like when he was a poor little boy who couldn't afford to buy her medicine. And Elena? Elena was losing herself. The pain was stealing her memories, her personality, her light. One horrible night, Elena grabbed Marcus's hand with both of hers. Tears were streaming down her wrinkled face. Her eyes looked so tired, so defeated. Maybe God is punishing me, mijo, she whispered in a broken voice. Maybe I did something bad in my life. Maybe I deserve this pain. Don't say that, Mama, Marcus shouted, his own eyes filling with hot tears. Don't you ever say that. You're the best person I know. You're a saint. You deserve the world. You deserve heaven. But deep down in the quiet darkness of his own heart, Marcus wondered, what if I can never help her? What if all my money, all my success, all my power means nothing? What if I'm going to lose her? That thought terrified him more than anything in the world. Then came the night that changed absolutely everything. It was 2 a.m. on a cold, rainy Tuesday in November. Marcus was in his bedroom trying to sleep when he suddenly heard screaming from across the hall. Loud, horrible screaming that made his blood run cold. He jumped out of bed and ran as fast as he could. He burst through his mother's bedroom door and found Elena clutching her head with both hands, screaming in pure agony. Her face was ghostly pale. Her whole body was shaking and trembling. Her eyes were wide with terror. Mama, what's wrong? What's happening? My head, Elena screamed. Please, Marcus, make it stop. It hurts so much. Please, make it stop. Marcus didn't think twice, didn't hesitate for even 1 second. He ran to the closet, grabbed a thick blanket, wrapped his mother in it like a baby, and carried her fragile body in his arms. He ran down the stairs out the front door and placed her gently in the backseat of his car. Then he sped toward the hospital through the pouring rain as fast as the car would go. His heart was pounding like a drum in his chest. His hands were shaking so badly on the steering wheel he could barely hold it straight. Rain hammered against the windshield. The wipers could barely keep up. And the whole time Marcus prayed out loud through his tears, Please, God, don't take her from me. Please, she's all I have. Please don't take my mother. Please. As he approached a red light and slowed down, Marcus glanced to the side of the dark, wet road. Through the rain and the darkness and the fog, he saw something that made him pause. A young woman, standing completely alone at an old bus stop. She was soaking wet. Her clothes were drenched and sticking to her skin. Her hair was plastered to her face. She was holding a small battered suitcase that looked like it had been through a war. For some reason Marcus couldn't explain, he couldn't look away from her. There was something about this woman. Maybe it was the way she stood so straight and tall, even in the freezing rain. Maybe it was the quiet dignity in her posture, even though she clearly had nothing. Even though she was cold and wet and obviously going through something terrible herself. Suddenly, from the back seat, Elena let out a loud, heartbreaking moan of pain. And without thinking, without hesitation, that young stranger woman ran toward Marcus's car through the rain. She ran fast, splashing through puddles. She knocked on the passenger window, hard, urgent. Marcus rolled down the window, confused and a little scared. What do you want? Is she okay? The young woman asked immediately, her voice filled with genuine concern. Real concern, not fake, not polite. Real. Can I help? Please let me help. Marcus stared at her, water dripping from her hair. Who are you? Why do you care? My name is Lucia, she said softly but firmly. I'm a caregiver. Well, I was. I just lost my job tonight. That's why I'm standing here in the rain with nowhere to go. But I know pain when I see it. I know suffering. Please, sir, let me help your mother. Something in Lucia's eyes, something deep and true and kind, told Marcus she was different. She wasn't like the others. So he reached over and unlocked the back door. Lucia climbed into the back seat, soaking wet, rainwater dripping everywhere. And immediately, she took Elena's trembling hand in both of hers. "Hi, sweetheart," Lucia whispered in the gentlest voice. "My name is Lucia. I'm here with you now. You're not alone anymore. I promise you're not alone. Can you breathe with me, okay? Nice and slow. In and out, in and out. That's it. You're doing so good. In and out." And somehow, miraculously, Elena's breathing started to slow down. Her screaming stopped. Her body stopped shaking so violently. She squeezed Lucia's hand tight and whispered one word: "Thank you." At the hospital, the doctors gave Elena strong pain medicine and monitored her for hours. They ran more tests, but again, they found nothing. They sent her home with more pills and more confusion. But on the drive back to the mansion, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about Lucia. This stranger, this woman who had nothing, who had just lost her job, who was standing in the rain with nowhere to go. And yet she stopped to help someone she didn't even know. As they pulled up to the mansion gates, Marcus turned around in his seat and looked at Lucia. Would you consider working for me?" he asked quietly. "Taking care of my mother? Living here?" Lucia looked surprised, shocked even. "Sir, you don't even know me. You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," Marcus said firmly. "My mother felt safe with you in 5 minutes. That's more than I can say for anyone else I've hired in the past 2 years. Please, I'll pay you whatever you want. Name your price." Lucia was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Elena sleeping peacefully in the back seat, her hand still holding Lucia's. Then Lucia said something that shocked Marcus. "I don't care about money, Mr. Marcus. I really don't. But if you're serious, I'll do it. I'll take care of her. Because your mother deserves someone who actually cares, not someone who's just collecting a paycheck." And just like that, Lucia moved into the mansion that very night. Lucia was different from every single other caregiver Marcus had ever hired. She didn't just work. She didn't just show up and do tasks and leave. She cared, deeply, truly. Every single morning, Lucia woke up before sunrise. She made Elena's favorite breakfast from scratch: fluffy scrambled eggs with cheese, buttered toast, and fresh squeezed orange juice. Then she would sit with Elena at the kitchen table, not rushing, not checking her watch, and talk to her about everything and nothing. Old black and white movies from the 1950s, funny childhood memories, the weather, the beautiful birds singing in the garden. She never rushed Elena, not once. She never got frustrated when Elena repeated the same story 3 times. She never got angry when Elena forgot Lucia's name. Instead, Lucia would just smile warmly and say, "That's okay, sweetheart. I'm Lucia. I'm your friend. We're going to have a good day today." Slowly, beautifully, like watching a flower bloom, something magical started happening. Elena began smiling again. Real smiles. Bright smiles. She started laughing at Lucia's silly jokes. She started remembering little things, like what she ate for breakfast or what show they watched yesterday. But the headaches, the terrible, agonizing headaches, they never went away. If anything, they seemed to be getting worse and worse. Marcus noticed that Lucia stayed up late at night in her room, researching headaches on her phone, reading medical articles, watching videos, taking notes. She asked Elena careful, specific questions. "Miss Elena, where exactly does it hurt? Can you point to the spot? When did the pain first start? Do you remember? Does it feel like pressure inside your head, or stabbing, or burning, or aching? Does it hurt more when you lie down or when you stand up?" Lucia was trying to solve a mystery that the best doctors in the country couldn't solve. One sunny afternoon, the exact scene you see in the thumbnail, Lucia was gently brushing Elena's silver hair in the bright bathroom. Elena was sitting in a comfortable salon chair near the big window. Golden sunlight poured through the glass, making everything look warm and peaceful. Lucia ran the soft bristled brush through Elena's hair slowly, carefully, lovingly. Just a normal afternoon routine. And then suddenly, without any warning, Elena screamed, "Ow, ow, stop! Please stop!" Lucia immediately froze, the brush hovering in midair. Her heart started racing. I'm so sorry. Did I pull too hard? Did I hurt you? No, no, Elena sobbed, tears instantly filling her eyes. It's right here. She pointed with a shaking finger to a specific spot on the top right side of her head. It feels like something is stabbing me, like a knife. Lucia carefully put the brush down. Very gently, very slowly, she parted Elena's thin silver hair, right where Elena had pointed. She leaned in close, squinting, searching, looking, and then she saw something, a tiny red bump, almost invisible, so small you could easily miss it. But when Lucia very lightly touched it with just the tip of her finger, Elena screamed in pain again. Lucia's eyes went wide. Her heart started pounding. She touched the area around the bump very carefully, pressing gently. And she felt something underneath the skin, something hard, something that shouldn't be there. Marcus! Lucia shouted at the top of her lungs. Marcus! Come here right now! Marcus came running into the bathroom so fast he almost slipped on the tile floor. His face was pale with fear. What's wrong? What happened? Lucia pointed to the spot on Elena's head with a trembling finger. There's something here, Marcus. I can feel it under the skin. It's hard. It feels like metal. Marcus's eyes went wide as dinner plates. Metal? How is that even possible? Lucia carefully pressed around the area again with her fingertips. And this time, she felt something sharp poking up through the skin, just barely, like the tip of a needle. She grabbed a magnifying glass from the bathroom drawer and held it over Elena's scalp, looking as closely as she possibly could. Oh my God, Lucia whispered, her voice shaking. Oh my God, there's something stuck in her scalp, something metal. I can see the tip of it. Marcus immediately grabbed his phone and called 911. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely dial. But while they waited for the ambulance, Lucia made a split-second decision, a brave decision, maybe a crazy decision. She quickly washed her hands with soap. She put on clean medical gloves. She sterilized a pair of small tweezers with rubbing alcohol. Then she knelt down in front of Elena, looked her straight in the eyes and said, Elena, sweetie, I need you to trust me right now. Do you trust me? Elena, with tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks, nodded. I trust you, Lucia. Okay, Lucia said, taking a deep, shaky breath. I think I can get this thing out. Whatever it is, it might hurt for just 1 second. But then, maybe, just maybe, the pain might stop. Do you want me to try? Elena grabbed Lucia's hand and squeezed it tight. Please, she whispered. Please try. I can't live like this anymore. Lucia's hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding in her chest like a drum. She carefully parted Elena's hair. She positioned the sterile tweezers right over the tiny metal tip. She said a silent prayer, and then, very slowly, very carefully, she pulled. Elena gasped. Her whole body went stiff. Marcus held his breath and squeezed his eyes shut. And then, out it came. A tiny, rusted sewing needle, barely 1 inch long, thin as a piece of wire, bent at a weird angle, covered in dried blood and tissue, but it had been buried deep in Elena's scalp for who knows how long. The very second it came out, Elena burst into tears, but not tears of pain this time, tears of relief. It's gone, she sobbed, touching her head gently. The pain. Lucia, the pain is gone. It's actually gone. Marcus stared at the tiny needle in Lucia's gloved hand. His mouth was hanging open. He couldn't speak. He couldn't breathe. He just stared. How? He finally whispered. How did this get in her head? Elena, still crying, but smiling now, actually smiling, whispered, I remember now. Oh my God, I remember. Years ago, maybe 20, 25 years, when I worked in that clothing factory downtown. I was sewing clothes. Fast. So fast. The boss always yelled at us to go faster, and one day a needle snapped in half while I was working. I felt something hit my head. I thought it just scratched me. I touched it, saw a little blood, put a Band-Aid on it, and kept working. I never dreamed it went inside. For over 20 years, that broken sewing needle had been buried in Elena's scalp, moving around, causing infection, putting pressure on nerves, creating unbearable constant pain. The best doctors in the country had done every test imaginable: brain scans, blood work, MRIs, CT scans, X-rays. But none of them had thought to physically examine her scalp. None of them had looked for something so small, so simple, so obvious. And it took one kind, patient, loving maid who had nothing but a caring heart to finally find it. The paramedics arrived minutes later. They carefully cleaned the wound. They gave Elena antibiotics to prevent infection. They took her to the hospital to monitor her overnight, just to be safe. And for the first time in years, Elena slept peacefully through the entire night. No screaming, no crying, no pain. When she woke up the next morning, she was smiling, actually smiling. She remembered Marcus's childhood stories. She laughed at the nurse's jokes. She felt like herself again. The real Elena, the strong, loving, joyful woman she used to be. Marcus stood in the hospital room, staring at Lucia, with tears pouring down his face. "You saved her," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. "All my money, all my power, all my connections to the best doctors in the world. And I couldn't do what you did. I couldn't save my own mother, but you did." Lucia shook her head humbly. "I just paid attention, Marcus. I just cared enough to really look. That's all." "No," Marcus said firmly, walking over and taking both of Lucia's hands in his. "You did more than that, so much more. You loved her. You saw her as a person, not just a patient. You gave her your time, your attention, your heart, and that's something all my money could never ever buy." When Elena came home from the hospital 3 days later, Marcus gathered everyone in the house, the chef, the gardener, the cleaning staff, and made an announcement. "Lucia is no longer just an employee in this house," he said loudly and clearly. "She is family. She is part of this family forever. And from this day forward, this house doesn't run on money. It runs on love." Marcus tripled Lucia's salary, not because she asked, but because he wanted to. He set up a scholarship fund in her name to train other caregivers in compassionate, loving care. And he started a nonprofit organization dedicated to teaching healthcare workers that kindness and attention are just as important as medical knowledge. And Lucia? She stayed, not because of the money, not because of the big house or the comfortable bed. She stayed because she had come to love Elena like her own mother. She stayed because she finally felt like she belonged somewhere, like she had a family. Years passed, beautiful, peaceful, pain-free years. When Marcus got married to a wonderful woman he met at a charity event, Elena was healthy enough and strong enough to dance at his wedding. When Marcus and his wife had their first baby, a beautiful little girl, Elena held her granddaughter in her arms and cried happy tears. And every Sunday afternoon, without fail, Elena and Lucia baked chocolate chip cookies together in the big kitchen, laughing and singing old songs. Every night before Marcus went to bed, he would walk into his mother's room, kiss her gently on the forehead, and whisper the same words. "I promised you'd never suffer again, Mama." And I kept that promise. But I didn't keep it with money. I kept it with love, with Lucia's love. And Elena would smile that beautiful, bright smile, pat her son's cheek with her soft hand, and whisper back, "You gave me more than I ever dreamed possible. You gave me Lucia. You gave me family. You gave me love. And that's worth more than all the money in the world." So now I have some important questions for you, my friend. Questions I really want you to think about. Who do you think is the real hero of this story? Is it Marcus, the son who never gave up on his mother and kept his childhood promise? Is it Elena, the mother who worked herself to the bone and survived decades of pain? Or is it Lucia, the maid who saw what no one else could see and saved a life with nothing but love and attention? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I absolutely love hearing what you think. And let me ask you something personal. Have you ever had someone in your life, maybe not a fancy doctor, maybe not someone rich or famous, but just a regular, everyday person who cared enough to really see you, really pay attention to you. Maybe it was a neighbor who noticed you were sad. Maybe it was a friend who listened when no one else would. Maybe it was even a stranger who showed you kindness when you needed it most. If you've had someone like that, someone who was your Lucia, I want you to share that story in the comments below. Let's celebrate the Lucias of the world together. Let's honor the quiet heroes who change lives not with money or power, but with love and attention. And here's my final question. What do you think this story teaches us about what really matters in life? Is it money, success, big houses, or is it something deeper, something more important? If this story touched your heart even a little bit, if it made you feel something real and true, I need you to do me a huge favor right now. Hit that big red subscribe button and join the Emotional Stories family. We share powerful, heartwarming, real stories just like this one every single day. Stories about love, hope, second chances, forgiveness, miracles, everyday heroes. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you know someone, maybe a friend, a family member, someone at work, who needs to hear this message today, who needs to remember that love is more powerful than money, please share this video with them. Send it to them right now. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And always remember, sometimes the biggest miracles in life don't come from expensive doctors or fancy hospitals. Sometimes they come from the smallest acts of kindness, from someone who simply pays attention, from someone who simply cares. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep loving, keep caring, keep paying attention to the people around you, and keep believing in the incredible, unstoppable, beautiful power of the human heart. God bless you, and remember, you might be someone's Lucia today. Don't miss that chance.